Hammer's going to
And then,
be there.
are you coming down now?
Yes.
Because we're gonna get everybody
I
there.
told Hammer it's going to be a quick meeting.
Should be fun.
He's here tomorrow.
Get a jump.
Yeah.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call our July 13th council meeting to order. Will you please rise for the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you can remain standing while our Deputy Mayor Karen Bugh leads us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, as we enjoy these wonderful summer months, may we make our homes places of relaxation, joy, love, peace, and safety. May we be generous and considerate, not thinking only about ourselves, but helping others enjoy the blessings of summertime. Guide our steps and strengthen our hearts during these months of summer and vacation days. Grant us refreshment of mind and body. May we constantly strive to make a meaningful difference in the lives of our loved ones and in the world around us throughout the summer and the rest of the year. We ask you this in your name. Amen. And if you please remain standing, I have a few moments of silence to ask for. Jane Bray was a long-time Brigantine resident who was very involved in our community. She was a volunteer with the Miss America organization, starting out as a hostess and eventually being named president of the board of directors. Jane lived gracefully with MS for 32 years and always remained positive. Jane is survived by her two sons, Ryan and Michael, her sister Ellen, and her 4 grandchildren. We also this week lost Dave Trefanchian, one of our business owners in Brigantine. He passed recently after courageously battling colon cancer. Dave was a hardworking owner of Brigantine Auto and Marine and always volunteered his vehicles to participate in local events. Dave is survived by his wife Jacqueline, his sons Thomas, Nicholas, Lorenzo, and his sister Carol, his brother John, and 2 grandsons. Dave's memorial gathering will be held Sunday the 29th from 11 to 1 at Keith's Plum Funeral Home. And then finally, Bill Jones, a longtime Brigantine resident, passed away yesterday after a long illness. Bill was very active in the American Legion Post 396. Bill is survived by his wife Patty and his 4 sons, Brian, Sean, Mike, and Chris. Thank you. Please be seated.
John.
Lynn, can you read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement?
Yes, just 1 second. This is to advise the meeting notices covering this meeting have been sent and posted as required under the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thanks, Lynn. And just want to make sure everybody on council knows and the audience knows, we had a late addition. We have resolution 2022-159 that was added to the agenda. This is a resolution for actuarial, I never say that word, services for the Beach Patrol pension plan. This is something that was needed for our auditing for the budget. It was the recommendation of our CFO that we put it on this agenda so that we don't have to wait 3 more weeks to kind of get that done. So I wanted to let everybody know, and that was added at the end of the agenda. Jim, any need for executive session?
No, Mayor.
Is there anyone from the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office here? I didn't think so, so we'll hold that. All right, at this time, we have a presentation about our county court system, so I'll turn it over to Howard.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Ferguson, County Counsel here. We were before you last year, and you were very gracious and allowed us to make a very detailed presentation at that time, and we tried to answer as many questions as we could that you had for us at that time. We're here tonight to give you an update of where things are and hoping that with the information that we will provide tonight, that you will see fit to join the court because we think it'll save you a substantial sums of money. And we also believe that it will provide much needed social services. Let me introduce the people who are here with me tonight. And as opposed to the last time we were here where I did a lot of the talking, I won't be doing a lot of the talking tonight because we have other people that are much more well-versed in the way the court has actually functioned than I have knowledge of. So let me introduce those who are with me tonight for this. We have with us our new assignment judge, the Honorable Michael Blee. Judge Blee became the assignment judge on March 1, taking over for Judge Mendez. And he is a very big proponent of this court, as he himself will tell you. We have Judge Mark Sanson, who you know. Judge Sanson is retired from the bench, and he was with me here last year. We have Trial Court Administrator Howard Birchtold, who is the Trial Court Administrator for the Vicinage, which includes not only Atlantic, but Cape May County. We have Brian Jetter, who is the Municipal Court Manager for, again, the entire Vicinage. And we have, I'll let Mark in a moment introduce the folks from Jewish Family Services who are here. We just, the county commissioners just approved a resolution a couple weeks ago in which we have a 2-year contract with them to do social services for the new court, and the county is paying for the cost of those social services, which we think will be of a big benefit to not only Brigantine, but a number of other towns. We're also, I believe he's going to be here tonight, is the chief judge of the Central Municipal Court. That's your own Tim McGuire, who is also I understand, the judge here in the Brigantine Court, who will be here tonight and will be able to give an update on what's going on. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Judge Sanson to introduce the folks from Jewish Family Services. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Mark Sanson. We were here last year. It was a 3-hour extravaganza, and it was a great series of questions and answers about a lot of things that we thought were going to work. We weren't sure. Although we were sure, you never know. It's been in operation since January the 1st for 6 months. It has been a tremendous success, which you're going to hear about in a second. It's still, as we predicted at that time, fewer than 10% of the people appear. And Tim, when he gets here, he's going to tell you that 10% of the people who actually go to the court, 90% is virtual. Very seldom do the police go to the central court. It's all hooked up virtually. So the system is working perfectly, resulting in tremendous monetary savings for the towns. We now have 11. Is it 10 or 11, Jim? 10 people have joined the court. We very much want Brigantine. We're trying to get about 3 or 4 other towns starting in January the 1st, if we can. And that's why we're all here. I'm really happy that Mike Lee, there's Chief Justice McGuire, has just walked in he's in the house. Elvis is in the house. So he will be telling you. I told him all the things you're going to tell him, so you better tell him what I said. No, I'm only kidding. But Tim, by the way, Tim has done a phenomenal job there. He's a Brigantine guy, and he's really, I was actually talking to Rick DeLuby, not about this, of course, but telling him, how good a job Tim is doing running this court. I'm going to be very brief. The people that we brought with us are all the people who are involved in this from the top, Mike Blee to me. I'm at the bottom. I'm a retired has-been, but very happy about it. But I will tell you that we brought 2 very important people here today. Karen Rogers from Jewish Family Services. Karen, wave, stand up, wave. And Ayanna James, no relation to LeBron. I was wondering what she was doing here, if it were. But she's also a tremendous JFS employee. What has made this court different from any other court in the state of New Jersey, and which will be a model, I predict, for municipal courts in the future? And we had this whole conversation. I'm not going to go over again why I think it's unique and why I think it's important. 75% of the cases, the non-traffic cases, traffic tickets, DUIs, but DUIs totally have a connection to a substance abuse are related to repeated status problems, mental health, substance abuse, which is an offshoot of mental health and really is a mental health problem, and domestic violence. We're treating that differently than any other court in the history of the state of New Jersey, in that we're treating it with social services, with case management. It is not you show up once and you may have somebody, a volunteer sitting aside who will do it. Somebody who can open up a file. JFS has 188 employees in Atlantic County. They know most of the people who need help in the county. If there are a few new ones in the municipal court, they're willing to follow them, and they follow them long term. If you do away with the recidivism in municipal court, you're going to drastically reduce the cost. The human cost and the aggravation of shoplifting, of all these other types of crimes, domestic violence, which is a serious crime. Finding people with five bags of heroin, which is now fentanyl, which could kill you at this point in time. These are all things now we can follow up on. We can get people into, and they're actually at the court. So it's not as though the judge is up there saying, I want you to report to JFS at 9 o'clock the next day. You say this to a person who has 5 bags of heroin. The chances of that person lining up at 9 o'clock the next morning at JFS is 0. It is not going to happen. So you've lost them till they get caught in Pleasantville or Absecon or someplace else. There's a lot of multi-jurisdictional issues here, which if we have a central court, we will then know who they all are, and we will be able to follow them up with services, because services are the only thing that's going to stop to improve their lives and also greatly reduce the cost of the court. Okay, so you're actually going to hear from JFS and what they do today. At this point in time, I'd like to call on Mike Blee to come up and follow up and basically tell from the Superior Court's perspective what's going on here, and then he's going to follow up with Brian and Howard, or maybe Tim. It's up to you who you want to go next.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be before some old friends. And Judge Sanson didn't get the memo on the dress code. He always dresses that way, so embarrassing to the judiciary. But it's with great honor to be here as assignment judge. I took over March 1st. I can tell you a big part of the process and a lot of the questions that were posed to me from the Chief Justice, Stuart Rabner, as well as the Director of the Administrative Office Court, involved our Central Municipal Court. We are truly a pilot for the state of New Jersey. It is something that had bipartisan support, and they want to see us succeed. So I first start with why we'll succeed, and I think hopefully it's the people involved. Met Judge Sanson. Judge Sanson's very humble. He was the best recovery court judge in the state of New Jersey by far. How do I know that? I was out there for graduation, not knowing anything. It's been 7 years since I was a criminal judge, and someone gets up and says, I want to thank Judge Blee. Judge Blee's the guy that said, I'm going to save your life, you're going to go to jail. And from that, services came in, recovery came in. Municipal court's another dynamic, but Mark and I were always frustrated that when we get someone in recovery court, they are at the absolute bottom. They're looking at 5 years in jail at least. And we look at the damage that was created to others, to themselves, to their family members, to society to get them to that point. We wanted to be innovative and get at the early levels, and that's what this is about. So we believe in the people. We have Ryan Jetter is fantastic, our division of municipal court management. We have Howard Berchtold, who's the greatest TCA in the state. He's been with us 41 years, and he put this all together. And someone that I'm just so proud. I was not involved in the selection, but had he been there, he would have been my selection. That's Chief Judge McGuire. So I had to come in and understand municipal courts are sort of little private entities. You were governed by the judge that you appointed. And although we're governed by state law, there's not a lot of structure. When I came in, we wanted to structure it just like we do in Superior Court. So Chief Judge McGuire serves as the role sort of as our presiding judge of municipal court. That's another brigantiner, Judge Delory. So he has administrative duties over other judges. The other judges are all seasoned. Mandatory meetings with the prosecutors, stakeholders throughout the year, laid that out right away. So I believe in the people. I believe in my experience that this is necessary. One of my day jobs back in the day, I was the longtime public defender for the city of Brigantine. What Judge Sanson just spoke to you was very frustrating to me. You're a part-time public defender, you have another practice, you have clients that need help, and you don't have the resources. So you have clients, they don't have insurance, they have substance abuse problems, you want to try to help them, you can't write a check for them. And there were chronic problems. I had some chronic clients, and I'm looking at Chief Casamano, and and we would try to work things out, but particularly mental health, they just can't help themselves. They are creating havoc in your community. It could be with neighborhood disputes, it could be vandalism, shoplifting, etc. And there's very little leverage from the court to get people to change their behavior. So the idea is to have something like a charge or possible probation hanging over the head and connect them with our services. So I strongly urge you to consider joining the Central Municipal Court. It's something we support. I know how important the court is to your community, again, as your public defender for many, many years before Judge Broom and Prosecutor Gasparo. Was there a long time. But I think this is the wave of the future. You're going to hear about the money savings to the taxpayers, which I know is always important to this governing body. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the new phenomenon of virtual world. The pandemic has taught us that, at least in municipal court from the top down, virtual proceedings are going to continue. And really the ratio is going to be 10% in court, 90% virtual. The only things that you're going to see in court really are trials. So why do we do that? If you have a litigant from PA, they got a 4-point ticket in Brigantine, they want to contest it, they can do it they can do it virtually. They don't have to lose a day's pay. I've talked to prosecutors. They find it to be even more efficient. People don't lose their jobs to come to court. I have mixed emotions about it, but that's just the way it's going to be. So some of the normal, and I've been here with big lists where the courtroom is packed, probably never going to happen in your town again. But we have the technology and the support to be able to provide for the new virtual world, but it's something you also have to consider. So with that, I will hand it over to our excellent staff. Judge Sanson, you want to go, Chief McGuire? Thank you.
For the record, I wasn't late. I was coming over the bridge and I got a text that we're starting. I knew Judge Sanson would go first, so I had at least 15 minutes to 20 minutes. I also knew I wouldn't be underdressed. And Mr. DeLucre, now that I've been compared to Judge DeLury, my legal career is complete. I was asked to be here. I'm in a little bit of a delicate situation because I can't be involved in politics. But the good news is I know each and every one of you. And the simplest way that I can say this is that as the chief judge in that court, I will run it the way I've run things all my life. And you folks know, I will run it the way I was a solicitor prior to Mr. Cerny. Hello, Mr. Cerny, it's a pleasure. I will run it the way this Brigantine court is run. It is something where the individuals who are defendants in Brigantine will not in any way be disenfranchised, upset, or feel somehow less important by going to the Central Municipal Court. And I won't talk about the social services because these guys do a tremendous job. But I know that we have an ex-police officer, we have an ex-state trooper, and sometimes when they talk about the social services, what gets lost in the process is that if there are individuals that come into our court that need to be handled in a strong manner, we don't hesitate to do that either. So I don't want you to think for a minute that it's a, as some people sarcastically say, a get out of jail free card. That's not what the court is. What the court is if someone is going into the casino and they get charged with trespassing, and they go in again and they get charged with trespassing, and they go in again and they get charged with trespassing, and you find out that the reason they're going in is because they're homeless and they just want a safe, dry, secure spot to go to the bathroom. What are we doing, folks? What are we doing by fining them a fine they'll never pay? They don't have money, turning them loose, and within 2 weeks to a month, seeing them again. What are we doing? Does it make more sense to try to find a home for that person? Does it make more sense to try to find a job for that person? Does it make more sense to have that person employed so they can pay taxes? That's what the social service aspect of the court is all about. As far as the operation of the court, please have faith in me. It will be run well. It will be run efficiently. And it is something that none of us in this room really can understand, because the volume in the court, we went from overnight to one of the largest municipal courts in this state. One of the largest municipal courts in the state. Neil, what was the saying for years? Man, Atlantic City Municipal Court, that's crazy. They have so many files, so much going on there. We dwarf the Atlantic City Municipal Court. We dwarf the Atlantic City Municipal Court. That's how many filings we have. So again, I will certainly, at the end of the session, answer any questions. I can't get into the politics of it. You guys have a wonderful solicitor, city manager, CFO, and auditor. They can go over the numbers with you. I won't, but it's certainly something that should be considered. And finally, I can't leave without saying this. Whatever the decision is that you folks make, I want to let you know right now that the people in the Brigantine Municipal Court are tremendous. They are tremendous. You have a great public defender, you have a great prosecutor, but I want to speak about the court administrator and the violations clerk. Ms. Guattardi does a tremendous job. Tremendous. She's nervous. She gets nervous at times. We all understand that. But it's because her heart is so invested in that court. Same with Ms. Fulmer. Ms. Fulmer is relatively new. She's extremely detail oriented, and she is an excellent employee. So whether you go or whether you stay, please keep those two in mind. They are a benefit to this town. They are an asset to this town. And it is such a pleasure to be here and not sit in that seat or not sit up in that seat. And now I can sit down and listen to everyone up. So thank you all.
Thanks, Tim.
What I'd like to do now is have Howard and Brian maybe come and make a joint presentation on the financial aspects. The numbers we gave you last year were approximations, they were guesses. Now we have some hard numbers that we can give you.
I just wanted to recognize our prosecutor who just joined us, who, by the way, used to work in our courts. I just want to say that. That is correct. I'm actually going to turn it over very briefly to Mr. Jeter. But it is nice to see everybody. Again, my name is Howard Bergstolz. I'm actually the trial court administrator, which means working together with the assignment judge. I administratively oversee the entire, all 9 divisions of the Superior Court. But many of my years, including working on the design of this building, was as the municipal division manager, the position that Mr. Jeter holds right now. I spent the better part of my career working on municipal courts throughout the state. And on municipal court reform, I used to oversee the municipal courts of Atlantic, Cape May, Cumberland, and Salem counties. So I have a lot of experience in the municipal court arena. And if I had to pick of the one division that I have a passion for more than any other, I spent more than 20 years working in the municipal courts of this state. And I am fully committed to municipal court reform. I've been involved since day one with Judge Sampson I want to recognize County Executive Levinson, County Administrator Jerry Del Rosso, for their foresight, their initiative to reaching out to then assignment judge, Judge Mendez, and me to say, could this work? Could this work? Could this central court concept work? And they were fully on board. I was working together with Mr. Ferguson from day one. Mr. Del Rosso and Mr. Ferguson and I met in my office, and we started crunching the data. We started looking at the economy of scale. Okay, but then we looked at where we could make this court, where we could make the municipal court system in Atlantic County that much better. I am fully behind this, 41 years of experience. I could tell you stories. I could tell you all kinds of stuff. I can give you data galore. But I can tell you this is working since day one. Brian and I worked together with his division, our presiding judge, Judge Velasco. That's a name that you know. Working together with presiding Judge Velasco and Brian, working together with Chief Judge McGuire. By the way, he looks a lot younger than me when we went to Holy Spirit together. We actually graduated together, but he looks a lot younger than me. That's okay. But I just wanted to tell you, this is working. And I can tell you, and I've already announced my retirement, which is coming soon, after 41 years working with the state and working in the court system. But I am fully committed, and I hope, Mr. Ferguson, I hope others will allow me to continue in this process, even in my retirement, because that's how committed I am to this process. Brian is the man. Brian is a longtime director of the Atlantic City Municipal Court. He knows large court operation. He came up through the ranks in the Atlantic City Municipal Court, and then I, together with Judge Mendez, stole him to state employment. And he's the man. And he can provide you some data. I really don't want to replicate a lot of the things that Mr. Ferguson and Judge Sanson shared with you before. But I can tell you right now, we're here to answer any questions either tonight or subsequent to tonight. Because once again, I am committed to this process. And I can tell you, it is working and it's going to get better. Right.
Thanks, Howard. Let me just say that I'm not going to take up too much of your time because I know you guys have a busy agenda. And we've already said pretty much everything that needs to be said and then some about the county court. But just let me start off by saying before I go into savings that you can have for your town, let me talk about the investment that's already been made into the county central municipal court. The county has invested, I want to say, at least close to $1 million in upgrading the facilities there, monies that you don't have to pay for. When you talk about facilities, you have to upkeep your building now. You won't have to worry about that. When you talk about resources, cost of law enforcement, securing your courts, the resources that it takes where they could be doing other things in your town that could be beneficial for your residents. The sheriff's department is now covering that for you. And right now the county is footing that bill. So when we talk about savings, I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up those things. Those are savings that aren't reflected in these numbers. And then when we talk about adding to these numbers, the savings that you're already going to have, it's a lot larger. I want to echo what Judge McGuire said about your existing court. I think your court is run very well, and there's no doubt about it that the employees and staff here are excellent. But again, let me add that those same services and quality of service that you're getting here, you're going to get at the Central Municipal Court. In our performer, we added a staff person and in session, and that's pretty much equal to what you have here with the exception of maybe the part-time person. So the services are going to be pretty much the same except enhanced because we're talking about the social services aspect. But let's get to the bottom line because that's what everybody wants to know, right? So right now you handle about approximately 2,000 filings per year. That's based on a 3-year average. You pay approximately $200,000 is actually, I'm sure, more than that, just to operate your court. Because we didn't talk, like I mentioned before, law enforcement resources, maintenance, benefits, All of these things on top of salary and wages and health benefits, talking about 200,000 or more. With the Central Municipal Court, you guys are projected to save over $100,000, close to 60% when it's all said and done. 60% savings on what you're paying now. I don't know what that is for your taxpayers base, but I'm sure that's a significant amount of money. So if you decide, and again, if you decide that this might be something that you're interested in, we can go deeper into the budget. If you want to reach out to me or someone from my office, we could talk about the budget more extensively. But I'm not going to take up too much of your time because we still want our social service agency to say a few words because the services they provide are excellent. I've been working, like Howard said, with the judiciary in Atlantic City for several years before I became the municipal division manager. And I can say, working with JFS and their services that they provide has been essential to us being able to deal with some of the defendants that we see or that we can't reach. And like Judge McGuire said, we may schedule that person several times and never see them and issue a bench warrant. But JFS has always been able to find that person and bring them to our court and advocate for them. With that being said, if you don't mind, I'd like to bring JFS up so they could talk about their program and what their services that they are able to offer. Please.
Well, it's an honor to be here with you this evening. I'm Laura Rogers with Jewish Family Service, here with my colleague Ayana James. She asked me to kick off our remarks. For those of you who aren't aware of JFS, we are a multi-service organization who serves the entire county of Atlantic and Cape May, over 10,000 people a year. That includes a food pantry, services for older adults, counseling, justice-involved services, as we're talking about here today. I go way back with Brian, working in the Atlantic City Court, so we are experienced and practiced in integrating services into courts. We also serve people in a holistic way, so someone might be flagged as potentially having a substance use concern, but we're going to look at the whole person and see what other needs that they might have. They may also be facing eviction, and we might be able to help them avoid eviction and their landlord get rental payments. We can help with diapers or counseling for a family in crisis. And we're bringing that into the court to bring that practice of assessment and understanding the whole person, then providing the case management that Judge Sanson mentioned, feeding into our multi-service offering, but also most of what JFS does is in partnership with other organizations across the county. So we have very established relationships where what we do in our business, we call it a warm handoff. So we don't just give someone a number to call, we're arranging a conference call so that they're directly connected and that they can work on everything that they need for their life. And we are very committed to this. We leveraged in during the past several months some existing services. Ayana really stretched her day to be there at the court beyond what was on her plate, because we really wanted to demonstrate and be a part of this solution that we think is helpful for all of the county and then to be a model for the state. So I'd like to ask Ayana to tell you about what it's been like a day in the life at the Central.
Hi, everyone. I am Ayana. I'm the supervisor of MHJIS, which is mental health justice involved services. And I, along with two of my other colleagues, Jeff and Chris, we all choose a day, but now we have all 5 days. In the beginning, it was choose a day, and it was 3 days, and each one of us would go today. So my days are Tuesdays, and I am there via Zoom, but I'm in the building. So I'm not in the courtroom, but I'm in the building of the courthouse via Zoom, and anybody at Judge McGuire or Judge Verno or Judge Fauntleroy feels needs our services, they'll send them off into a breakout room with myself. It's just me and them. And I do an assessment. It's 2 assessments that I do just to get an overall picture of their needs because they may be there for trespassing or shoplifting, but there are underlying things that they actually need help with. That is the result of their charges. So I do an overall assessment to make sure that I'm getting the total picture, and then I sit down, get my plan together, discuss it with them, see how they feel about this, because it is about self-determination with our agency all the time. See how they feel about the plan that I've created to kind of help them get on track. That could be applying for food stamps, which I helped someone apply for food stamps in GA because she didn't have an income, and that was the reason for her charge, not having income. I also have linked people with, before Avanzar actually started, linked with Avanzar, but now Avanzar is a part of the services as well, and they are there. We helped someone with safety. She was being abused, and most importantly, mental health linkages. I've linked with ABH, I've linked with us, and also Family Service Association. And I know Judge Lee said he had some concerns about the whole virtual situation. It is very much so. Privacy is not in the courtroom with everyone, so people aren't discussing their concerns or their life circumstances in front of everyone. It's literally me and them, like it would be any other situation in a room, but via Zoom. So there's privacy throughout. HIPAA, all of that is still being handled. And I think that's all I do.
It's quite a bit.
Thank you very much.
One thought I had too, just in my experience as the public defender here, you always had very aggressive and professional zoning officers and officials. And, you know, when I look back at some of those issues, so you have the person who's just going to clean up their lot. It's debris ridden. And you talk to them and you know that clearly there's mental health issues. So how do we do it the old way? Well, they really didn't want to cite the person, but you had neighbors there that lived with these people. These are very expensive properties. You may have been people that are here for years. We know the town and city has changed through the years. Code goes out, tries to talk to them, doesn't want to cite them, has to cite them, still don't clean it up, cite them on a daily basis. Your city's probably not going to get any money. But here, if Judge McGuire sees something or one of our other judges and notices that clearly there are mental health issues, there's JFS to correct the situation. Most of the neighbors, they don't really want to hammer their neighbor with a fine. They want it cleaned up. And I know that was, problematic. Neighborhood disputes, simple assaults between neighbors, domestic violence. JFS can provide that service, but they also are affiliated and are kind of the quarterback for other services dealing with domestic violence victims, as well as anger management. But the neighborhood dispute quarrels, I lived it, and I wish I had some of these resources there to work together, with your code and zoning officers and the neighbors to come to a solution. Thank you.
As I told you, this is it. This is our presentation. The reality of municipal court is there's approximately 120,000 cases in municipal courts throughout per year in Atlantic County. And those 120,000 cases are not 120,000 people, obviously, because there's maybe 275, 280,000 people in Atlantic County. Not all of them are creating, municipal court cases, but there is a cadre of 5,000 people that are committing these offenses in every single municipality in Atlantic County. So the theory behind the main theory, or a big theory behind this, not only is achieving economies of scale and saving all the towns in the county money, but is if you can cut into that 5,000 number and solve some of the life problems of some of these people, there's going to be fewer cases. So municipal court costs per town are not going to get more and more and grow with inflation every year. They should get less and less and less because we should have fewer and fewer filings. That's the theory. It makes sense. This is a new dimension. These people in municipal court, not murderers, they're not killers. They'd be with the prosecutor at that point in time. These are people who commit offenses which are annoying. Shoplifting in this county is horrendous, and it's something that I know the prosecutor's working on. But we have to deal with this in an intelligent way and bring in a social service element, not to coddle people, not to do this, but to solve problems that aren't going to go away unless you solve those problems. A homeless person, when you say keep out of the casinos, for instance, it's not a Brigantine problem, but it's a county problem, or stay out of somebody else's house and they have no place to live, that's not realistic. They're going to do that. So if we can solve problem after problem after problem, the theory is municipal court, that segment of your budget and every municipality in this county is going to go down, 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 down. If that happens, then you're going to be happy and the people are going to be happy. These are human problems and we want to see them solved that we can. That's really our presentation. We're here available, any one of us, to answer questions. So go right ahead and ask questions.
Now, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and doing the presentation. We really appreciate it, especially the time and effort that you're putting into the success of the court and actually following up on our meeting last year. I guess one of the questions I had, I know the court's been up and running, I guess, about 7 months now. For the mental health services that you provide, it seems that you identify people who need those mental health services by repeat offenses. So is that correct? Either,
I think that sometimes I know that our judges can tell that someone might be struggling with mental health. They might verbalize it. There are some apparent symptoms. I know Howard and the courts have people have had training on basic symptoms to identify. And then, as Ayanna mentioned, there are certain charges that for us, when we see people get them repeatedly, we have a sense as social workers that there may be a mental health concern there. So if there are repeated trespassing charges, someone not showing up for court, those kinds of things tell us that there might be a problem. But then sometimes people are also disorganized in their way of presenting at the court, or they may offer some other indicators that would say that there might be a mental health issue. And then we don't lead with that when we engage the person. We just start with a chit chat and get to know them and say we're here to help. And we have ways of also asking questions that help us understand a person's life experience that may indicate mental health concerns.
are the services, just because I was curious, are the services voluntary or are they mandated? Or is it a combination?
They can be mandated. In other words, we can work it one of two ways. One, they can be voluntary. And Mayor, each case is judged on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
So there's not a hard and fast rule, so to speak. So it can be voluntary, or it can be mandatory in this respect, and that is, okay, this is your underlying problem. You have to address your underlying problem. We're going to hold these charges in abeyance. And you're going to come back in 60 days, 90 days, whatever it might be, and we're going to actually have Jewish Family Services give us a report. Did they show up? Are they making improvement? Is this a course or a path that is going to actually help them and take them out of the court system and make them productive citizens? Or, and this happens, are they gaming us? Are they trying to use Jewish Family Services as a shield to avoid responsibility? Jewish Family Services does a great job, and they can identify that, and we proceed accordingly. So it can go either way, Mayor. And Mayor, I want to tell you something. What you folks might not know is the state of New Jersey should get a tremendous amount of credit because they train their judges intensely. For example, at the end of June, we went for 2 whole days of training at Seaview Resort, every municipal court judge in the state. And one of the courses is regarding mental health, every year, regarding mental health, triggers to identify someone who has a mental health condition when they're in their court. So we get to notice it because of our training. Jewish Family Services can tell us because sometimes they've had prior contact. The prosecutor, right? Within 90 seconds. Yeah. Exactly. When they sit with the prosecutor talks to them and says, Judge, this is someone who's a good candidate for Jewish Family Services. That's all they have to say. And we recognize what that means.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, I was wondering too, I guess a follow-up is, as you identify people and trying to engage them in the mental health services, are you able to kind of track them through the system to see, is it putting them on a better path? Are they coming back and committing other crimes? Because that's what I was curious, how you measure the success. And I didn't know how HIPAA played a role in that.
So when we open people in our service across the agency, everybody has to sign a consent form
Okay.
so that we can speak with the judges. That happens right off the bat. While I'm in the Zoom, I make sure that consents are given. But tracking wise would come from the case management perspective, where we have a system where we have to, one, document, but the case manager would present what is actually going on to show if it's uphill or they're not making no progress at all on their stuff. But we provide anything, if the judge asks for it, we would provide that to them because we have it in our database.
Okay.
But consent is given so that we can
Can
discuss.
communicate. Yeah. Because I was curious, and then maybe it's just too short of a time if you're starting to see that drop in some of the, like you said, recidivism, I never say that word either, within the courts.
Mayor, in small doses, because it has been a short period of time.
Right.
And remember, folks, when the court first opened, we were in satellite offices. We were in Egg Harbor Township, we were in Hamilton Township, we were in Galway Township. So we weren't even really centralized. We were in the building in February, but we weren't really centralized till March 1st. I had talked before the court opened with Andrew Steinberg, who runs the Jewish Family Services, and we had hoped in the future for the people who go through Jewish Family Services and actually improve their life to have some sort of a graduation ceremony or some sort of activity to honor them. There used to be a judge in recovery court, a big personality. He used to do stuff like that. I forget. Oh, Sanson, that was his name. We hope to do that, but Mayor, it has not yet unfolded to the point where we can start generating statistics.
Okay. But that's what I was curious too, to look at the long-term success, if you have a way of generating those statistics in the future. I just didn't know. All right. So it's just like you said, even though it's been up since February, really you're looking at about 4.5 months of. So I would assume then most of the people you're connecting with the mental health services, you're probably in the first kind of round of first phases with. Okay. All right.
Mayor, I just want to answer questions because, Deputy Mayor Buback, I also did a lot of planning and zoning
Yeah,
before this board.
Mike was here
I've
all the
been-
time.
I've been a judge for 10 years. Nobody's been able to ask me a question for 10 years. So. And Neil Kane Sr. was firing away.
He sat next to
And
me.
my client was the late great Andy Simpson. So you can imagine how I had a lot of explaining to do. So I want to tell a little anecdote to kind of put it into perspective as to the way it used to be and what we could maybe create a situation where it doesn't happen again. So I was a young municipal prosecutor in the city of Absecon, my hometown. We had a young guy, clearly had mental health issues. Back then we had basketball courts, always getting into fights. Police would arrive, scuffle with the police. I spotted him. I knew he had mental health issues. We would cut our own deal back then. We didn't really have authority to do. And I said to the public defender, look, officers were on board, and they were in a scuffle with this guy. He was violent. Give him some 6 months, hold it in abeyance, get mental health treatment, and we'll dismiss. We had no way to track it. So he probably produced something. We were busy, produced something, and it didn't stop there. So it just continues to escalate. Still living in the town. I'm the municipal prosecutor. Some of you may know my brother was assemblyman. He's also a chiropractor. This individual happened to be his patient. He liked to leave little boxes of tapes of Western movies for my brother. My other brother would watch them. Well, then it kind of escalated. He was leaving pornography. So then at that point, I started getting threatening phone calls to my home. He was obsessed with me. He thought I was a real prosecutor, unlike the real prosecutor, Mr. Reynolds, and had a true obsession with me. At some point, he got into it escalated, all the way leading up to the point where he tried to burn down his parents' house. So we know what's happening in society now with mental health. It starts early. And if we can get to that early, it's not going to be perfect, but these little incidents can lead to the big ones. So, it's something to consider that this gives us at least support, some reporting mechanism, Judge McGuire, whatever judge, with the angels from Jewish Family Services. So thank you, Mayor. I'd love to answer questions.
Thank you, appreciate it. For the financial information, I know you talked about savings for Brigantine. Has any of that financial information been shared with our CFO? Has anyone in the city had a chance to kind of look at it?
No, we haven't officially shared the financial information yet, but like I said, I can leave my contact information. And then if they like, we can send everything to your CFO.
Because I know that'd be important for council too, to have an opportunity to have our CFO and our city manager kind of review through, what you're coming up with, what the numbers are and how we can compare them. And I think that would give us a better look. One of the questions I had too, I guess in the last presentation that was here, it was talked that most of the cost of the court would be covered by the participants, but you said that the county is kind of footing the bill for stuff. Do you know what specifically is the county paying for?
Well, Jim?
Yeah.
We have we approved a resolution for a 2-year contract. County is paying those charges for Jewish Family Services to run the program. That goes into, I think, approved calendar year 2023.
Okay.
And then at that point, obviously, we'll assess things. And I'm sure they'll do a good job of, probably the contract. They're on board for 2 years. They did a pilot for us for 3 or 4 months, and then they came on board recently under this contract, which will run through next year.
Okay. So that reference about what the county was paying, that was just for the Jewish Family Services that are being provided to the courts.
Well, there's been various things that the county has provided. The county did a whole refurbishment of the old courthouse. Now, part of that, to be honest, was we had to do a retrofit of the HVAC system in that building because there were other county agencies like the surrogate, the county clerk, and the county board of taxation that are in that building. That costs a significant amount of money. That was going to be done anyway, regardless of this, but I think we're close to $1 million in other charges to refurbish the various courtrooms, to put in the violations bureau, and then the working stations for the court staff to work. And the county has also paid for the cost of the sheriff's office to provide the security. That's something we're providing this year, and we intend to provide next year. Hopefully this program works. We'll be able to continue to do that, but that'll be a decision will ultimately be made by the county executive at that point. But you can count on at least for the remainder of this year through next year, the county's going to be putting that bill for the security. That's important because they have a great security apparatus out there at that court facility. I mean, it's like guarding Fort Knox out there, really, where they have it set up. So, we think it works very well. And Howard may be able to.
Can I just also add, as far as coverage, and I just wanted to echo the county sheriff's department, because we work very closely. They are providing the same level of security that we do in Superior Court, meaning the same level. With all due respect to local law enforcement, we're not just using metal detectors, we're using x-ray machines, all of that. The other thing that I just wanted to add, working in concert with county government, out of our budget, the Chief Justice, who's fully committed to this, Judge Grant, who's our administrative director, has authorized me, and then Judge Mendez and certainly Judge Blee, Just out of our Superior Court budget, we've committed over $300,000 already, all technology. While your court here, the ATS, ACS, your computer system is paid for by the state. We've now committed to the digital recording system. That's all been covered. It's at the same level, top-notch recording. The court record is now being done through CourtSmart, which is the same as Superior Court. Municipalities are not paying for that. We've paid for that. Assisted listening devices, all of the technology has been covered either by the, well, basically by the state. And that just shows the commitment of the state judicial system. And I've actually now assigned my IT staff. The IT staff at my local level, although they're state employees, they've been authorized to provide support to this group.
That's great. No, thank you. And then you talked about the sheriff's officers. Was there a need to increase the number of sheriff's officers for the county in order to cover the court? Because that was a question we weren't sure about it the last time.
Right now, I believe that they're handling that within the personnel that they have on the court now. I know he's down some slots and he's probably going to be hiring more people, but I think that's separate and apart from services he's providing.
Okay, so there hasn't been any increase in the sheriff's office now, but there could be an increase in the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, some of that's related to his other functions and all. I
Yeah.
know he's down some officers. And I think I think he has people in the training class now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mr. Ferguson, my recollection is that they sent quite a few people to the academy. As we mentioned, the new virtual world as a stopgap measure, since there's not a lot of proceedings that are in person in our civil branch and family in Atlantic City, they work cooperatively to bring some officers over from Atlantic City. But I don't think that's a long-term plan. My recollection, I remember the numbers for some reason. How would you know? Let's say 13? Quite a few that they were authorized to put through the academy to be able to staff not only the Central Municipal Court, but recognizing the need.
Yeah. Did you say that was 13 new officers?
I don't want to be locked
I
into
only
that
asked
number,
that.
yeah.
You don't have to lock into that because that was the number I think we had discussed about a year ago. There'd be a
And
need.
that's the number that's
the number that was stuck
but
out.
I can't, don't, you know,
No,
I
no,
can't say it
that's
was
just-
certainly, but we could get
yeah.
that number from Sheriff Sheffield.
That sounds about right. But
Yeah.
it's in that area.
Okay. And then you had said too that the county was going to cover a lot of these costs or some of these costs, I don't know specifically what, for the first 2 or 3 years and I'm going to add to it to help the court get started, but that could be shifted towards the courts, I guess, as more municipalities join.
Eventually, as you get more towns on board, it's economies of scale.
Right.
Probably at some point, that will shift over into the municipal court budget. Right now, when you see that budget, there is no line item in there for the security because the county is paying for that in its entirety. If any portion of that would shift over, then you see a line item in the budget, which then gets allocated to each of the towns. And we talked about this last year, because I know Mayor, last year you had the question about, oh, Brigantine, because we have a high rateable base, going to be impacted because our rateable base is a lot higher than most of the municipalities. That's not the way it's done. It's done on the percentage of cases that you have to the total number of cases. So like in Brigantine, and I don't know the exact figure, but if you like had 5% of the cases going to the court, then 5% of the overall budget for this court would be allocated back to the municipality.
Okay. No, that's perfect. And then I know, I guess, I'm going to assume the court's going to grow with the success that we're hearing. Would there be a need for more staff as it grows?
Probably.
Okay.
But again, that's a question that is difficult in a way for me to answer because a lot of that's going to be determinative of our people in the county getting together with Mr. Jenner and the court staff out there for them to say, look, we're adding these towns and we're having, another 5,000 cases added. We're going to need another staff person here or there. They would have to make that recommendation
thank you. And then I don't know who to best direct this question to, and it's more, maybe it's just putting a rumor to bed because I don't know, so I figured I would ask the question. I guess when the state law was created that allowed for this municipal court, I think it set it up, like you said, to be a pilot across the state with the potential of other municipalities doing this. But I guess my understanding is that there were certain municipalities that have been excluded from this, that they're not participating. So I thought I would ask that, like, it seemed weird to me that the state law set it up that certain people couldn't be a part of it.
You know, what it was, the legislation that Senator Sweeney had introduced.
Yeah.
Set it up as a pilot in counties of a certain size. So no municipality in this county is excluded from joining this court. The pilot didn't cover the whole state of New Jersey. It
Right.
covered municipalities or counties of a certain size. And Atlantic County, we fortunately fit within that in the criteria that it was set up by the legislation.
Was it certain size, like it had to be over a certain size or under a certain size?
It was under a certain size.
Why did they pick smaller counties?
I don't know. I don't know that I ever got into that when I was talking to his staff. Our main concern was we knew we were going to fit within the criteria. Our concern was the legislation was set up initially. It provided for a regional court, but never provided the fact that being done under the auspices of the county running it.
I understand.
So when we went and got the amendatory legislation to work closely with Senator Sweeney, it was to get that component built into it. And that was the last thing that I think went on in June or July of last year, when the legislation went through. Judge Sampson and I testified before the committee. And then when it passed, I think it was in July, when the governor signed it, I think it was August 4th or 5th of last year.
Tremendous question. Why doesn't it apply to the whole state?
Yeah.
The reality is, in the Senate, you got to get the 21, and in the Assembly, you got to get the 41. So that's the reality of it. There's some counties and political systems in the counties that did not want to be involved in it.
Right.
We were lucky enough that we fell within the area that we were allowed to do it. It's not that it was deemed to be a bad idea. I imagine there were some constituencies in some counties that were willing to fight it and could have stopped the legislation. When we talked to you last time, we did not have this legislation passed, if you
Yeah,
recall.
Yeah.
We got the legislation passed, which was really kind of miraculous. And I have to tell you, it was because we had some very good friends who realized it was a major improvement. So as this is working, as they're trying to do it in the other towns and counties that can do it, they're going to have an eye on us. And the fact that it is working has basically astounded everybody. So my sense is that this is the first of many, and that ultimately, I would say within a 5-year time period, everybody's going to have this system. That would be my prediction at this point in time.
So
There's no good reason why some counties, mostly the Essex, Bergen, the bigger counties are excluded miraculously from this system.
Yeah, and I think that kind of raised some concern with us why certain counties, at least when the state legislation was put in place, literally set it up that they could never be included.
Well, no,
So that was-
they can't be, the word never doesn't exist.
Right.
It will be included when they can get the 21 and 41. There are people who want to do this very badly, but there are some counties where, key legislators own positions of judges and prosecutors and public defenders and would not vote for it or have other people vote for it. I mean, this is speculation, but this is Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it
but we're
up.
on the
Like you say that it's
we're on the right
speculation,
side.
but-
We're on the right side of the Mr. Smith goes to Washington equation. So, I mean, this is like good business. This is good. This is good public, doing good things for the public of this county. They're not keeping it because they think it's a bad thing. They're keeping it out of certain counties because they couldn't get their legislators to vote for it if they were included because of the patronage that they would lose and things like that. So the reality of it is this is good government at work. And and everybody wants consolidation, but nobody wants to do it because there are always people that are adversely affected. But we've
I read a report that for one of the committees, I forget whether it was an assemblyman or a state senator,
State senator.
That's why it didn't happen.
Okay.
But we're not mentioning any names.
No, we're not mentioning names, but I thought it was a good question to ask. 'Cause
It is.
is
It's inter-
concerning.
it- it's
We look at
interesting.
the possible success
But
of this, but also look at the fact that there's certain, like you said, there are certain state legislators who supported it only if it could never happen in their.
If it didn't
county.
happen now, I mean, the reality of it is if we're able to show a successful program, which all indications are that it will be immensely successful, it's going to save you guys a ton of money and more money going on if the social service aspect of it works, which is truly a revolutionary approach towards this thing. Then everybody's going to have to do it. They're not going to be able to ignore these enormous savings forever. I don't think. But, I don't know how North Jersey politics works. It's all the smaller counties surrounding the state that have been allowed to do it, and they're all probably going to do it.
Okay.
And then the bigger towns will come along later. But it's not because they didn't want to do it, because it wasn't the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do for everybody.
Okay. And that was just leads into my follow-up question. So, if Atlantic County can show success with this and other counties kind of join in with this, it could give, I guess we want to say, leverage in order to try to expand this and change the state legislation to open this up across the state.
Without question. It will, I think that's my prediction. It's going to happen. I mean, Tim McGuire is not just a great job, and not just because he's from Brigantine, but he has gone in there. He has created this new thing. And if you see I invite you to go out there one day and see what Tim has done out there. It's amazing to me. It is really amazing to me. And I'm blown away by it. I mean, we worked hard for it. Jim and I went to every place in the world. We got kicked out a lot of places. We were not treated tremendous. You guys were courteous to us before you kicked us out. But the reality, no, you were very courteous.
I think you guys were here 3.5
Stole our judge and our prosecutor. We were a little pissed.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody was kicked out.
And I get the trust of, the fact that we're going to hire new people. Look, we tried to do it the right way. We're doing the right thing the right way. And that's all we can say. And thank you very much.
And Mr. Smith Goes to Washington's a good reference. I used to show it to my AP government students. Yeah. No.
Can I just add that?
Yeah, please.
We are working with other counties in this, which is in the state of New Jersey.
Sure. Yeah.
Cumberland, Salem, they're already working very closely on creating a regional court. We're working with Morris and Sussex. I have counterparts. I'm one of 15 in the state. So I'm working with my counterparts in the state. Any of those that fall under the population number, which is the number that Jim was referring to.
Sure.
Just about every county in the state that falls under that population number is watching this very closely.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
you're going to see this happen probably within the next calendar year in at least 3 other counties in the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
And to your point, there's no question on my mind it's going to expand beyond that.
Sure.
So, can I also add just lastly, I probably take way too much of your time, but you also understand, although it doesn't impact the city of Brigantine all that much at this point, but since Judge Sanson and Mr. Ferguson came out, remember, a part of the legislation is that this court has jurisdiction county-wide over all offenses filed by the state police, any enforcing agencies above the municipal. So even state police, casino prosecution complaints out of Atlantic City are being heard in this court. All right, so it's not just the 10 towns. All right, and the reason for that is the Attorney General got behind it because state police, I know we have state police, former state police representation. Think about state troopers going to 500, how many municipal courts in the state of New Jersey. So again, economy of scale for that too.
Sure.
But this court now has jurisdiction over county offenses, state police offenses, all of those things.
And really weird question. What happens with like conflict cases? If everything goes to the county, what happens with a conflict case?
Another great thing about the Central Municipal Court, it's multi-layered with the conflicts, Mayor. First of all, if a prosecutor or a judge has a conflict, it can stay within the Central Municipal Court and go to another prosecutor or another judge. That's simple. If it turns out that there's a conflict for everyone, and I can't think of an example, I don't know, let's say Judge Blee's child got a speeding ticket or something, then we have an agreement where any of those types of conflicts get referred to the Hamilton Regional Court. And Hamilton Regional Court, the same thing, when they have conflicts, they send them to us.
And you said Hamilton, not Hamilton. Right, yeah. And then, I know I've asked a ton of questions. I don't know if anybody from council has any questions.
Great job.
Okay. They said let you guys off the hook. I think now, one, on behalf of the city, I'd really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out, to sharing all this information. I think, Brian, if our CFO, if you guys could connect, we'd really like to get the financial data and start to do an analysis of that. If we have, I guess, specific questions, I would assume if they're financial questions, who should we reach out to? To Brian? Okay, and if we, okay, and then if we have like functional questions, things like that, who would be a good person? Well, I didn't know, yeah, I was worried with conflicts with Judge McGuire. I don't want to put him in a political situation, so, okay. All right, perfect. No. Perfect. I agree too. I think that's a better, yeah.
Which again, we didn't have. We're supposed to be respectful and stand up. And I didn't mention the probation factor, because I also
Oh, yeah.
oversee the entire probation department for both Atlantic and Katy counties. Probation is involved in this process. To one of your points on the question was asked as far as tracking.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, probation, even if you follow, probation is not just a handling.
Right, yeah.
Probation is about helping. We committed probation officers to this court, okay? And the other thing that we did, thank you, Brian, we actually, I proposed to Judge Grant, to the administrative office of the courts, we were actually able to add a full-time assistant to Brian's staff that's working in concert with Judge McGuire's staff. So we have a full-time state employee that's committed to this court.
That's perfect.
That's probably what we do.
Okay. No, that's great. Thank you very much. All right, any others? All right, well, we appreciate you guys coming in.
I just also want to say that, you threw out the savings of 60%, and we're going to get absolutely inundated with phone calls tonight. I can guarantee it. So we're going to have to get something back to the chief financial officer and the city manager, and take a good hard look at the numbers. Okay, because I got to answer to the people, you know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate your time. You guys were absolutely fantastic. And I understand that mental health is a huge thing. I get it. But from our perspective too, I want to see people get help. Putting them in jail is not the answer all the time. I get that. But I also have a responsibility to the public and making sure they're protected while those people are getting help. So I think we're all on the same page, and we'll go from there.
Mayor, if I could add one more thing. I've been working with the county court system because our office represents a number of the casinos in Atlantic City. So we've had an opportunity 3-4 times a week at least to be on the Zooms with the county personnel. And without exception, I mean, they're good people. They're professionals. They move the lists very well. And I can tell you from 30 years of doing municipal court work for the casinos, this morning was a good example in Atlantic City. You had a list where one person had 24 cases. And that wasn't even their full resume. That was just today's part of it. And it's a person I know from seeing over the years, and that person has mental health issues. And, if you can do something to help that person and to reduce that caseload, and you hope to eliminate it, but at least to reduce it, that's a tremendous thing. And obviously through JFS, we have the ability to do that. And I think what was said about the court staying virtual, that is going to happen. It's going to be virtual, and they're able to accomplish everything, in my experience, at least over these past several months, virtually. So, again, cases are getting moved quickly. They're getting handled well. And I know back in the fall, when we were thinking about this and considering it, we, among other things, said, let's take a wait and see approach and see how things play out. And I could say from my experience with it, it's working.
That's great. It's good feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your inviting us out again to address you. I know Judge Sampson and I believe the other people will be happy to come back if you need us to come back.
Sure.
That's not a problem. Answer your questions and make this a decision. We want to make it an easy decision for you to make to the extent that you can. So
That's perfect. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I would just like to say thank you for coming out and sharing all this good information also.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see we still have 30 instead of mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so we'll take a 5-minute recess. Motion,
So moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I think our manager stepped out. Just 5-minute recess.
My ACL.
I'm going to get the meeting rolling again.
Oh, I'm having another one too. I mean, my first one.
I already had two. You have to be up there, though. Get up there. Go.
Thanks, Fred. I appreciate it. Send them up here. Get everybody back. All right. I got everybody.
Wrangle them all back in.
All right, can we have a motion to resume?
So moved.
Make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting is resumed. All right, up next, we have a presentation from the Atlantic County Prosecutor, Bill Reynolds. Turn it over to you.
Appreciate it. So, good evening, everyone. I am humbled and grateful for the opportunity to come before this body. I have to tell you, obviously, you guys all know I was born in Atlantic City, raised in Brigantine. Had every life event here through 8th grade, including both parents' funerals across the street at the Presbyterian Church. Mom worked in City Hall. Dad was the challenger to everything, changed the form of government, unionized the white collar workers, blue collar workers, and Lifeguard Association. And I was humbly appointed to be the prosecutor here for the first time in any town. Phone call came the day after Christmas 2012 from Councilman DeLucre. And I was told, hey, you might be the conflict. And then got a phone call the first week of January. You're the guy. I showed up and never looked back and started my prosecution career. And I'm here to thank you for the opportunity. That's number one. But for Brigantine giving me the opportunity as my first job, I would not be the Atlantic County prosecutor. For context, I mean, obviously everybody in the legal profession understands what it means to be the county prosecutor. There's 21 in the state of New Jersey, one for each county. There's 9.3 million people in the state of New Jersey. Atlantic City is the biggest tourist market in the state, and I am personally responsible for every single event that involves law enforcement in Atlantic County and Atlantic City. The gravity of the decisions that I have to make are not lost upon me or my office. I am very fortunate to lead a very talented team. I know Councilman Kane was a homicide detective over in Atlantic City in the violent crimes unit. Our office works very closely with that through our major crimes unit. Since I've been sworn in on June 6th, I've been to multiple homicides, suicide, multiple fatal accidents, sex crimes against children. I've been on scene. I've been with the SWAT team. I was 10 yards from the door when I hit the door in Galloway at 4 a.m. Briefed on multiple homicides that happened before I started. It is a extremely important position, and then I do not take it lightly. And the fact that I was born and raised here in Brigantine, and I wanted to come back and express my gratitude, number one, and number two, talk about some of the initiatives that my office and the very talented team that I've assembled, my leadership team, as well as the rank and file. To give you perspective, there's a law firm, and there's a police department, and an administrative cover, which all falls under the guise of the county. Everyone are county employees. I'm nominated by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. So here I am, Bill Reynolds, delivered at Primo Pizza, worked the door at the Circle, ran the book for the men's basketball league, and I have a personal relationship with the governor and the first lady. I have a personal relationship with Senator Palestina. I've remained independent throughout my entire legal career, not a Republican, not a Democrat, because I had visions at some point of doing something great. And I was able to manifest that, and it all started here in Brigantine. And I'll tell you a great story. I was sworn in right here by Judge Gasparo. One of my brothers and his children came, and Judge Gasparo made a wisecrack. It was fitting, but it was great. He goes, "Yeah, Reynolds, you did a great job. In one generation, you made it from being a defendant to being the prosecutor." True story. Have it on video. So with that as the context, one of the things that has been so humbling to me is in the meeting that I left before I came here, I was briefed by the Secret Service, the FBI, and Homeland Security on the NAACP convention. And that's why I was late for the presentation that was made by the court. And I'm segueing into that. One of the things that both the Attorney General, Mr. Platkin, has said to me, as well as the governor, as well as the governor's chief of staff, in addition to Senator Palestina, Bill, do your thing. So I am doing my thing, and I have a very, very intelligent and talented staff of people that are chasing pedophiles, they're chasing guns, gangs, and narcotics. They are chasing down people who are committing murders. Yesterday on the streets of Atlantic City, a 13-year-old shot 2 people in broad daylight. He shot 4 times and hit on all 4, right? So it segues into exactly what the county municipal court's talking about is quality of life issues and mental health illness, right? So what I've seen in my experience in municipal court for 10 years, and now as the county prosecutor for the last 5 weeks, that a majority of the people that are having contact with the municipal court, it's mental health issues, right? And it's drug addiction. One of my initiatives, and where it comes into play with all of you, is we have a crisis in Atlantic City, and it's affecting everyone around Atlantic City. And what happened was during COVID, the administrative office of the courts prohibited municipal courts from issuing warrants. When you can't issue a warrant, there's no stick for the carrot, right? So there's no actual threat of punishment or enforcement, because if they don't show up to court, there's no problem, right? So what transpired from when the court shut down March 20th, 2 years ago, to May 22nd of this year is there was no warrants. So there was recidivism. These same people, Mr. DeLucre, Councilman DeLucre, just raised an issue, and that person's on my radar, 24 cases. And that's only what have been listed that day. There are other cases. We are identifying these people who are recidivists, right? And what we're doing is we're giving them the final offer for help. If they don't accept help, so one of the things that JFS does a great job in is engagement. So I'm on several committees and boards. Casino at Risk Initiative identifies these people. We have a running email as well as Teams meetings where we're on and we're identifying the defendants who are committing these low-level quality of life crimes over and over and over again. What we're doing now is we are addressing them. We are actually having a meeting next week, Judge Blee and I with some other judges, and we are going to address those specific people to try to get them help. What's transpired in Atlantic City during the pandemic is, and how it spills over to Brigantine is, they come here and shoplift, right? Or there are people from here that are shoplifting here. They take the stuff, they fence it in Atlantic City, and then they go buy drugs, and then they may or may not come back over the bridge, right? So all the local stores here get shoplifted. Formula, we know that's a big issue out there. They sell it to the bodegas and for pennies on a dollar, and the bodegas sell it for $20, right? They go to the walk and they steal merchandise, and then they fence it for pennies on a dollar, then they go buy drugs. So it becomes a cycle. There's actually a retail theft ring in Atlantic City, which we are identifying the people in that theft ring, and there's middlemen that fence it, and they go to a storefront on Atlantic Avenue, or a residence, they fence it, they get money, then they go buy drugs, and they do it all over again. Last Sunday, one particular defendant shoplifted $5,000 from one store in one day, right? And what are they doing? They're feeding their drug addiction. So the reason why I'm segueing into this is we are giving them the last chance because during the pandemic, they have refused any help because they weren't motivated to accept it. Well, now we're going to list all their cases together and we're going to address their issues, and we're going to identify addiction, identify mental health, identify maybe just medical care. And if they do not accept the help, and just as the county court has indicated, probation is to help people. It's no longer the hammer, as Mr. Burkhold said. It is to help people, a task evaluation, mental health, addiction, rent, healthcare. They do a task evaluation and a plan. If they don't live up to the plan, then, and they violate probation, then they're facing a 5-year state prison sentence. So there's motivation for them not to live on the street or not to commit these low-level crimes, not to do drugs, and not to shoplift. If they need help, we're going to offer it. One of the things that was not mentioned is Hope One through Sheriff Scheffler. I have an amazing relationship with him. His brother and my brother are law partners. Steve Scheffler is being sworn in tomorrow as a Superior Court judge. Eric Scheffler with Hope One does not do anything to require a condition for people to get help. What he does is, you want help, you go today. My office pays $140,000 through a grant towards Hope One. Last year, we spent $35,000 in transportation of taking people to recovery. Okay, so that's how committed the county prosecutor's office is to actually try to help these people. We're at a crisis because, and this goes back to old school New York with Rudy Giuliani, and the reason why I use that reference is Lieutenant Governor Oliver on a meeting yesterday used that reference. In Atlantic City, there's a sense of lawlessness because the people are on the street. They can smoke weed, they can shoplift, they can urinate in public, they can have sex in public, they can do whatever they want because there's not enough police, right? They're undermanned, understaffed, and they're outnumbered, right? So what's going on over there is this sense of lawlessness that a 13-year-old is going to shoot somebody in broad daylight. So if we clean up the streets and take all of these people who need help, if they accept the help, great. If not, maybe county jail is the answer, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to try to remove these people from the situation, not allow this to exist, and try to move them into treatment. Get them the help they need through JFS, Volunteers of America, Hope One, whatever the case may be. We've created 4 diversionary programs to get those people help. That's what we're doing. This is one of the initiatives I'm working on. We pushed out a press release today and a video that I shot with many politicians on both sides of the aisle, right? One of the things that I've learned through my experience in municipal court, which has given me a huge advantage in this job, is not only do I know how to deal with these people, I know these people. I've dealt with them. When we're on the Zooms and we're looking at the list, I've dealt with 70 to 80% of these people personally because the last 10 years, I was boots on the ground. I had no victim witness advocate. I had no social services. I was the guy. I identified who they were, what their issues were, how I could help them, how I could resolve the case. So I have a huge advantage, right, from that perspective. Where we're going with this is that these people, right, and they are considered under the new guise of court, municipal court sees 98% of the public. That's their version of justice. They are our consumers. They are our customers, right? We're actually, believe it or not, we're in the customer service business now. And one of my jobs as a municipal prosecutor was to get someone to agree against their interest in about 90 seconds and have them thank me on the way out the door, and I would make them laugh on the way out the door. Because then they'd come out and see Judge McGuire and then agree to a payment plan and then go see Dawn at the window and sign a payment plan for him. And they'd be nice to us and they'd be mean to her at the window, right? That's how real life works, right? But the advantage that I had is doing this is understanding coming into this office as the county prosecutor. One of the reasons why I wanted to come over tonight is twofold. Chief Castamento and I were at the Police Academy graduation. He was the keynote speaker. It was my third day. Here I am. I'm up on stage. Mr. Prosecutor, first seat's yours. Right? It's my third day. I'm like, wow. Start right here. Right? I pull up in the driveway. Tommy Rehill from Brigantine is one of the security officers. They march me in, 3 people, guns on their hips. They put me in the first seat. I'm like, wow, it's real now. Rich stands up. Chief Castamento stands up, gives his keynote speech, and he talks about our experiences I had in Brigantine. I'm like, wow, this is like a trip down memory lane. I show up at all these places. Judge McGuire is the chief judge. Assignment Judge Blaze, the assignment judge. He was my football coach in 7th and 8th grade, Brigantine Rams, right? Right. This is real, but this is Brigantine producing results. I think the world needs to know how great Brigantine has been producing people who are actually making impact, right? I'm going to tell you, I'm probably, and I don't know this for true fact, but I'm probably one of the only independents ever to have this job, right? I have relationships on both sides of the aisle, people that are up here and people in the community. Senator Palestina went to bat for me. Senator Palestina went to bat so much so that he was willing to trade the lint in his pockets to make sure I got this job. Why, right? Why did that happen? Because integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking, right? It means so much. So Brigantine has produced people that are having a major impact on this community and our community. And I think the town and the public need to know. And the other thing they need to know is the people that work for the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office really care, right? And they are working really hard every day to protect all of us. And there's a lot that goes on behind that curtain that nobody knows, right? Between social media, video cameras, every crime is not solved by eyewitnesses now. It's solved by people's social media, by video cameras, Ring doorbells, poll cameras, you name it, everything's going on, right? It's all happening live and we're getting live updates. Yesterday after that shooting, I was on a call being briefed minute by minute. I knew where the child was. I knew what was going on. I knew how many people were in the room. I knew what gun was used. I knew how many casings were spent. I knew exactly what was going on, right? Because we needed to make real-time decisions of what was happening. The gravity is that not lost on me and the office that I'm involved in, but I'm not the one doing the work. These really talented people are that really care. And that's the other reason why I'm going to municipal council meetings to tell you, yo, we're in good hands. There's a lot of people that really care about what's going on here. And I feel very safe every night when I go home based on what I know and what I've seen being behind the curtain now for 6 weeks. The final thing I want to let you know is I attended the first chiefs meeting for the entire county last month in June. I stood before all the chiefs of police. And I'm going to say the same thing to all of you. This is a partnership. The channels of communication are open between the county prosecutor's office, the local police department, and local government. It may have not happened that way in the past, and I don't care what's happened in the past. I can only move forward. And what I'm doing going forward is there's a partnership between our office and the local police departments. And we are having trainings and we're having meetings and we're discussing issues and we're dealing with them in real time. And I'm availing myself to all the chiefs to meet, to discuss town and municipal specific problems, right? Growing up in Brigantine, I know what's one of the quality of life issues during the summer? Traffic, people parking where they're not supposed to park, the cove, right? Underage drinking, now with marijuana being legal, people smoking all over the place, right? So I'm aware of what your quality of life issues are, right? In summertime, it blows up and there's all these people here that may or may not have the same respect for the island that we have, right? But same token, they pay our bills, right? And that's one of the things that I always prided myself as a municipal prosecutor. I would ask, are you a second homeowner? Thank you. Thank you for paying your taxes here. I really appreciate you coming here. Unfortunately, you have to pay $35 for the parking ticket. Right? But that's the thing is there's a gentle way of doing things. And one of the things that I've learned And I've had multiple meetings with chiefs, and obviously Rich and I played sports together, played street hockey together, and had a lot of fun together growing up. So we have a great relationship, but I'm making those same relationships with other people in the county. One of the things that I know just about everybody, but maybe some not as intimate as I know Rich, right? So I was always better in street hockey, but that's okay. But the truth of the matter is that my job as county prosecutor and representing the entire county is to be of service. So I wanted to let all of you know we are here to serve the community, not just Brigantine, but all of the communities, and we are going to be everywhere. I've built a community outreach department. We are holding events. We are attending your events. We're going to come over, as I'm born and raised in Brigantine, I'm going to come over to National Night Out, right? Because I think it's important that there needs to be a trust between the community and the county prosecutor's office, because for a long time, and I'll give you a perspective, I was a municipal prosecutor for 10 years. I saw the county prosecutor once at a meeting at 6 o'clock at night at a private law firm. No communication ever, right? I've seen the municipal prosecutors more in the first 5 weeks and the chiefs of police more in the first 5 weeks than probably anybody did in the last 10 years. Why? Because that relationship's important. Because if you have a major crime here, who are they going to call? They're going to call me because we have the relationship, right? And I'm going to be here. That's what I've done. I've been out to Mullica for homicides. I've been to Atlantic City for homicides, fatal accidents, SWAT team in Galway. I'm there because it's my job, my responsibility to let not only the people that work for my office, but the public know how much we care. What I was told by the Attorney General and the Governor and Senator Palestina, Bill, you're the face of law enforcement. It's your job to get out there and tell people what we're here to do. My job is to be of service, and I'm humbled to serve the citizens of Atlantic County and everybody from Brigantine. And without you naming me to be the first prosecutor in the Reynolds family history here in Brigantine, I would not have this job. So for that, I'm most grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, before you leave, one, I want to thank you for your outstanding service, not only to Brigantine, but to the county. And as you've gone through the process with becoming the county prosecutor, I know there was a lot of conversations behind the scenes. And the number one thing that everybody kept coming back to is your integrity. You know, I think that's really what sold people on both sides of the aisle, to know that you were the right person for this position. You know, and it's humbling that you got your starts here in Brigantine, but it is your work ethic and your moral character that has brought you success and will continue to bring you success. So thank you for everything you do and everything you're going to do. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And the only thing like that is my parents instilled a moral foundation in us. And yeah, I can use the golf analogy, and I don't play golf because kids play the soccer and I can afford it. The rough time of my life was to make Rip and Power back nine to make my children proud. I need to raise great. That's my legacy. So we're our parents' legacy, right? And when people look at us, Lane, you're shaking your head, you know, right? You look at me, you think Rip and Power, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So I want people to see my kids and say, hey, they're real, right? That's our legacy. Doesn't matter where you live, what car you drive, what job you had, your children are your legacy. So I can't get sideways in this job because I have to show my children the right way to conduct themselves and bring us great.
Amen.
Thank you.
Bill, I just want to tell you how beautifully you spoke at 8th grade graduation.
Thank you.
It was absolutely inspiring to all those kids. And afterwards, Lynn and I were speaking, and Lynn was saying how proud your parents would be of you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that was exactly 35 years when I graduated North School. Graduated first in the class, president of the class, Miss Wright, when she retired, bouquet of roses, and that auditorium that I spoke in was the school year.
Great. Yep.
35 years. I mean, I'm living the dream. I couldn't write this, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations and best of luck in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, I have one
Thank you.
question, Bill. Bill, you. Not heard.
He didn't rip the father, not rip the brother.
Bill, I have one last question for you.
Sure.
And you've done Brigantine proud and you've done your family proud. In the updated rankings of the Reynolds brothers, have you surpassed John yet?
So John is the anonymous one, right? So I think Rip likes the attention. Kirk's the sarcastic one in the background, but I think this flips John.
So you got Rip, you, John, and Turk.
I'm gonna put myself in Robert's. But thank you, everybody. And from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate this. It's been a tremendous opportunity for me and my family. And I love telling people I'm from Great Team. I say it everywhere I go. I'm like, one way on, one way off, right over Fishing, Atlantic City. I was like, see, Regatta, it's over that bridge. Because obviously I've been in a lot of high level meetings. So, hey, where you from? Great. Great. Like, really? From Great Team? I'm like, believe it or not, I am. The Green Team Ranch, 7th grade, you might believe it's the church. And y'all, we had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to be frank with you guys, it was amazing. And I say this, I really want to be of service. And you guys have a great relationship. Anything you need, I'm there.
Perfect. No,
Me and
thank you.
Neil are well familiar with the travel hockey and shelling out the dough for that too. Right?
All right, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Happy hockey.
Thank you.
See you, Wills.
All right, so we have the approval of our June 15th council meeting minutes. We have a motion second.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
It's as far as we got.
How many pages?
Lawyers.
So we have motion second. Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approval of requisition list, operating expenses and payroll. We have a motion second.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, we'll open it up for public comment. This is for agenda items only. John Johnson.
John Johnson, 36 Coquille Beach Drive. As a retired citizen, I attended last year's presentation from the county court system. And being here tonight, my first comment is they certainly assembled a high quality of people to work for them and do it. But I have yet to hear the total operating cost of that county court system. I don't know how many municipalities have joined it, but they are unable, I think, at this time to really say whether they saved any money. So in my opinion, the true test isn't until, and I guess it's a one-year term, until those counties really report, is there a savings? And the test would be are they going to renew and remain part of that? So that's the way I see it, and I just had to say it. And as far as Mr. Reynolds, congratulations to him. What a high-quality person. I wish him a long, successful career. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I know they're going to get us the financial information, but I think that's a good point you brought up is, I guess, for the municipalities that are involved, like, are they seeing a true savings? So that's something we can reach out on. They said there are 10 of 23 municipalities that are currently involved in the municipal court system. I know a few of them had to go in because they had shared services or joint courts with other municipalities. So once the larger municipality went, they had to go. And a couple of them had expressed that since the state had taken over jurisdiction, they don't have local police, they use state troopers. And since all of the state troopers went with that, that kind of forced them into the courts too. But I think you brought up some really good points that we'll look into. All right, any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we're going to close the public portion at this time. We have ordinance number 10 of 2022, and this is an ordinance amending chapter 198, section 88 to provide for ribbon-style driveway surfacing for residential single-family and two-family dwellings. We have a motion second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Just for some background, this is something that came up before the planning board.
Here it says 99 and here it says 88. Does that make a difference?
I don't know.
How was it?
You see that, Lynn?
I believe it's 88.
Okay, so Fred, do we need to amend or can we just?
No, it's,
Okay,
the agenda has it.
okay,
Okay,
all right.
Mhm,
Okay.
I did.
okay. No, perfect, good catch. We discussed this on the planning board, and this is something that was put forward. Obviously, it would go to us if we do vote in favor of this tonight. It goes back to the planning board, but this is about reducing lot coverage and allowing for more like permeable surface, so rainwater can seep into the ground versus become runoff. So this was the recommendation of the planning board. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes,
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-145, and this is authorizing an amendment for a shared service agreement between Atlantic County Improvement Authority and the City of Brigantine regarding property registration. Can we have a motion second?
So moved.
second.
Any questions or comments from council? I think the two major changes, one, there was a state law change, so I think they had to come in compliance, and I believe the ACUIA may be using a different company to do the tracking, so I think those are the two major updates. If there's no questions, then can we have roll call?
View,
Yes,
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Abstain.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-146, and this is a resolution of the City of Brigantine authorizing award of contract for consulting engineering services for planning, design, and construction, management services for the reconstruction of 44th Street from Bay Shore Avenue to Brigantine Avenue and 44th Street Cove. And this goes to de Blasio and Associates for their bid of $33,000. We have a motion second.
so moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes,
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yeah, I'm very glad to start to see these projects moving forward. One of the big initiatives we're working on in the town is repaving and reconstructing roads. So yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-147. This is work change order number 1, which is a final. This is for emergency road repairs on Atlantic Brigantine Boulevard. This is an increase of $4,954.89, and this increase comes from additional work that was required at the direction of the Atlantic County Engineers Office to properly complete the project. We have a motion second.
so moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes,
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-148. This is for miscellaneous parts and supplies. This is to Smith Brothers 3 Inc., which I believe is Ace Hardware. And this is for a 1-year period. And this is in a should not exceed amount of $35,000. We have a motion second.
So moved.
second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes,
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-149, and this is for supply and delivery of various clothing and giveaways for clean communities and municipal alliance programs. This is for Calico Enterprises and in a should not exceed amount of $42,000. A motion second.
So moved.
second.
Questions or comments?
This all comes from our grant.
That was my question. Good one.
Aha.
All right. If there's no other questions, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes,
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-150. This is CER refunds. We have motion second.
so moved.
Second. Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-151, CER refunds. Motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-152, this is a renewal of our liquor license for R&R Brig LLC. A motion second.
Second.
I'll turn this over to Chief. Any issues or reasons we should not renew this?
Sergeant Glasser did a thorough report for last council meeting of all the inspections, and he has no issues on any of the liquor licenses.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments from council?
Yeah, Chief, is this the pocket license for the rod, or used to be at the
Yes.
rod?
Yeah.
They just got their tax clearance certificate because they had a special ruling because it's a pocket one, so that's why we didn't have it on at the last meeting. We just got it from the state now, so.
Perfect, thank you. If there's no other questions, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-153, this is a resolution accepting the skate park as planned, or gets built as planned. Can we have a motion second?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-154, this is cancellation of account balances and grant programs that have expired. We have a motion second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-155, and this is a resolution of the City of Brigantine. Form of resolution requesting change in title, text, or amount of appropriations pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-85. We need this resolution in order to accept the 2022-2023 Municipal Alliance grant. Can we have a motion second?
So moved.
Second.
And Roxanne, anything we need to know more than that?
Yes, unfortunately, we didn't get the signed paperwork back in a timely basis for the budget. And there's a cash match that the city has to put forth. And that was not provided for in the budget. So we had to take it from one other line item and put it into this line item to make it whole.
Okay. So it's just shifting money from one line item to another. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-156, and this is insertion of special item of revenue, Chapter 159, Municipal Alliance. This is the grant we received. Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call? Do you have a motion second?
Yeah, we need a motion.
Yeah, all right, roll call.
Do we have a first and second? I couldn't hear it, sorry.
No.
No.
I'll make that motion. Second.
There you go. That's why I want that. All right, so we have motion second. Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 2022-157, and this is authorizing award of contract for installation of temporary generator hookup at Station A, and this is for Northeast Electrical Services in a should not exceed amount of $15,662.24. We have a motion and second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2022-158, and this is the appointments to the Lifeguard Association Pension Board. Those members that are being appointed are George Emick, which is the Chief of the Beach Patrol, Michael Brooks, which is the Association President, Tom Rapici, and John Johnson. We have a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Abstain.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2022-159, and this is award of contract for actuarial services for the Beach Patrol Pension Plan. And this is being awarded to CBIZ Inc. in a should not exceed amount of $10,000. Have a motion and second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Abstain.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next up, we have our consent agenda, and we have the Brigantine Police National Night Out request, Chamber of Commerce bonfire request, Veteran Surfing request, Yacht Club street closing request, Outrigger canoe race request, South Jersey Cancer Fund raffle license number 971 request, South Jersey Cancer Fund raffle license number 972 request, St. Thomas raffle license number 973 request. Have a motion second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Questions or comments?
A lot going on.
We've got a lot going on. It's a beautiful thing. Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next up, we'll open it up to our council manager committee discussions. Jim, anything for us?
No, Mayor, I did not.
Perfect. Turn it over to our deputy mayor, Karen Beal.
Just that the farmer's market is doing extremely well. Last week, they had, we had a little bit of rain, but it did not hold shoppers back. A couple of the vendors didn't show up, but it was still a great market. That's about it, other than Rita's Water Ice is open. Delicious. Have to stop by. It's just amazing how many new businesses have opened this year on the island. It really says a lot to how well this island, the economy of this island is doing. And that's it.
One of the things I guess I want to add too, because you just reminded me with the farmer's market, but there's a quarterly magazine that's published in New Jersey called Edible New Jersey. And it actually talks about a lot of like the farmers markets in the state, and our Brigantine Farmers Market got a mention in there. And it's really impressive to see the success that the market's having. So what was fresh in my mind, I wanted to say something. To turn it over to Paul Lettieri.
I have nothing.
Okay, kick it over to Dennis Haney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick things. The recycling for, the pickups for recycling rather, are every week now. Just a little heads up on that for everybody. Stay on top of that. Got company over, whatever, so makes it a little bit easier for everybody. Regarding this upcoming Friday, the 15th at 4:00 p.m. will be the grand reopening of the skate park. They really did a really nice job in there. They repaired the bowl. Looks like they did a real nice job on that. There's replaced and added some of the ramps, handrails, runs, different things, some other numerous accessories and objects that were replaced and added. And hopefully, we have a nice showing. If you're able to make it, come on out. Um, I'm sure all of us here at council remember when Mayor Simpson was here with us. We had this, it was packed in here, and everybody really was, all the people who spoke were very passionate, and they really had their hearts into it, and there was a lot of emotion, and everybody was really just voicing how much they wanted that skate park to stay there and not close down. We even had some people that came from offshore that had been in that park, and they had children, and they still visit along with the people in our own town. And so when Mayor Simpson sensed the vibes of that, he just kind of said, just kind of stepped up to the plate, and it was a beautiful moment. He just said, okay, he said, let's hold it right up now. I can tell that everybody really wants to just get this thing going, because we're prepared to really looking at the thing that was really looking like we might replace it with something else. And he said, skate park's going to stay open, and he got a huge round of applause. So it was a really nice moment on council that night. So God rest Andy's soul, and I'm sure he's shining, looking down and smiling from above. The one last thing I just wanted to say is for everybody to have a safe and fun summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Down to Rick Salupri.
Thank you, Mayor. One correction to Dennis's comments. We're now over 2 hours. Andy would not be smiling. Two things I'd like to mention. I have to first thank John Doring. I mean, you could do that anytime, but here there's a specific reason. The beach committee met recently. I learned late in the game that I had a work obligation. John immediately stepped up, ran the meeting, and gave me a full recap afterwards. So thank you for that, John. The other thing, we had another, I'm told, I was not there personally, but my people were there. Another really successful Heart of Surfing event last Sunday. And the organizer, I'm not going to try to name all the people that she named, all the people that helped, because I'll miss somebody, but we just couldn't say enough good things about all the volunteers, the beach patrol in particular, a number of the firefighters that assisted with the in-water activities. And she even said, when I talked to her, that Brigantine is the easiest and best place that they work in. That other places, which shall remain nameless, but kind of down beach from us, that they make you jump through hoops that really don't seem to make any sense in order to get the approval to do it. But Brigantine goes out of its way, both through Jim's office and then when it comes to the actual event, to make it work. So she said to me, and I don't know if she was kidding or not, that she's thinking about buying a house in Brigantine, but just in case, Mike, I gave her your number. So pick up the phone if it rings. That is all.
Thank you, Rick. I'll go down to Neil Kane.
I'll keep it short and sweet. It's been a great summer so far. Got through the 4th of July. All the businesses did great, and just hope things keep going and everyone stays safe and have a good time. We'll leave it at that.
Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone that came out tonight. Just about everybody's gone, but. Testing, good. All right, yeah, thanks to everybody who came out tonight. We appreciate it. It's a great summer, very informative meeting tonight, a lot of information. Cultural Arts Commission's working hard. They have their arts festivals coming up in September. It's been moved from normally this time of the year to September. Other things going on. Economic Development Committee is also putting the time in. We've had Jim Rotella, our grant writer, come in and fill us in on a lot of things that's going on between everything from beach replenishment to anything that's available really in grant-wise. What else do we got? I want to compliment John Doring on the way the beaches were after the July 4th fireworks all over this town. Many, many on the beach. From the hard work in the past that you put in, our beaches were phenomenally clean after that on July 5th. So thanks, John. And of course, the PD and fire department always there to kick in also, everything you do. So we appreciate it. What else? We've had a couple issues. Neil did a great job with a presentation trying to help out and fix a few issues on the golf course. So thanks for that, Neil. That was awesome. Other than that, talking about the county court system and all, we're always conscious of saving the taxpayers' money. It's been said that Brigantine Council has cut taxes over the last 7 years. End quote, repeat line. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mike. You forgot something. Where can we find your phone number?
Oh,
Thank you, Joe.
Any troubles, my phone
Thank
number
you,
is in the
Joe.
back of the Times.
There you go. I'll pitch it up. It's not a meeting unless you say it. And actually, Chief Casamento, if you don't mind, could you talk a little bit about National Night Out? Because I know that's coming up soon.
It's going to be August 2nd from 6 to 9 down at 26th Street. A lot of, they're working on the vendors now. There's going to be a hayride. There's going to be inflatable axe throwing, so don't get nervous.
I needed clarification.
Actually,
I was worried.
I think people are going to really like it. It's a big inflatable target. A lot of the stuff you've seen in the past, Coast Guard will be there, and food, food and drink, and all the different organizations will be there. And there'll be a SWAT demonstration. So they're working on it now.
No, that's perfect. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the city too and your department. I know it's a lot of work that goes into it, but it is one of the better ones in the county. I've been to a bunch of them, and there's a lot going on, especially for our families here in Brigantine. So thank you.
Thanks.
Can I just ask the chief a question? I had someone ask me who to contact. They wanted to become a vendor.
Detective Powderly?
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it'd be a good one.
I know this 4th of July was one of the busiest 4th of Julys we've ever seen. I feel like we keep saying that every year, but obviously our public works, police, fire, beach patrol, outstanding job. I know our guards were working hard. The water was a little cold, which helped with that. But I really saw, especially I was down the jetty. I know the jetty was really crowded. I know it closed down a little bit early with access. Police had a really good presence there, and the way they interacted with the crowd, the way they handled situations was really impressive. I know it's something that our department really works on is community policing, and it was good to kind of watch your department in action. So thank you. With Public Works, I know a big thing with trash is down there. You guys were back and forth picking stuff up, and that's really good to see. Because I know a few years ago we got hammered in the press and hammered on social media about stuff, and I know that all of our departments have really stepped up to make sure we don't end up in a situation like that. And each year, the service that we receive in the city keeps getting better and better. So thank you both very much.
Can I just say one thing? Did you see any complaints on social media?
None.
We did.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
A lot
is
of
impressive.
He's
compliments.
retiring. Mike Johnson.
Yeah. Mike John.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I think
A lot of compliments.
there's a lot of compliments, and I think a lot of people in the community really have a respect for the job that all of you guys do. And people see especially how hard Public Works works. And I'm like this morning, beach baths. I went down there 6:45 this morning to go surf, and by 9, you guys had redid the paths, filled stuff in, and just great service. Before it became an issue, you guys are on top of it. So thank you. Speaking of surfing, it's been some waves in lately and some rip currents that are going on out there. Our beach patrol has had a couple after hours rescues, whether they've been post hours or in the morning. One of the things we want to remind people is please make sure you swim by a lifeguard. Sometimes you come down to the beach, it seems very, very calm. Sometimes that water can be deceiving. And we're very, very fortunate to have the response teams that we have and the quickness down there. So just want to remind people. We had a request come in to rename Atlantis Cove after Tom Millhouse. I know a lot of people know about Tom Millhouse and his work with the Lions Club, but there's some stuff that he has done too, especially with Brig Strong and after Superstorm Sandy. One of the biggest reasons that Brigantine recovered as fast as we did was the work, obviously with our Mayor Phil Gunther and Ed Stinson, but also with Tom Millhouse behind the scenes, especially getting Brig Strong. I know there were situations where there was families who had nowhere to turn. And even when the money had run out, he found ways to help people. And one family in particularly, they were caught up in the bureaucratic red tape of dealing with the state of New Jersey and were about to lose their home. And he was able to make sure that they retained their home. So I wanted to put this out there. I wanted you guys to take some time to consider it. And we can discuss it at the next meeting. I don't want anybody to make a decision tonight. I'll have the city manager kind of follow up with an email to get a sense of where people are. But I know it would mean a lot to his family, and I think it would be appropriate to honor what he's done for our community to do that. So I want to kind of put that out there for everybody. To give everybody an update on St. George's Thoroughfare, I know everybody's been following our work with DOT and Congressman Jeff Van Drew. I'm going to tell you, there's not enough good things that I can say about Congressman Jeff Van Drew. He has been a true champion for Brigantine. When we last left it, Van Drew had worked out with the DOT that we were the first project for next year. They were coming in next year. They were going to get it done preseason. One of the things that the DOT had kind of asked us to leave open, they said, if anything changes and we're able to mobilize equipment this season, would you guys be open to it? And we said, of course. We had a meeting today with the DOT, and they want to move forward with the dredging project. They want to move forward with it this year. We don't have all the ins and outs and details of it, but one of the things we want to do is make sure we communicate with people. So we'll get the information as it comes in, but they're looking to what they call mobilize. So basically stage in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And that's where they're going to start to move their equipment in place. They're going to do a full hydraulic dredging of St. George's Thoroughfare. And this is something we're very adamant on in order to do it correctly, which they agreed to do. That dredging will start somewhere in the first or second week of August. One of our biggest concerns when they first talked about this project is they were going to shut down the whole Cove Beach. They no longer need to do this. They heard our concerns. They understand how important that beach is to the summertime economy of Brigantine, how many of our families and visitors go down there. One of the things they were able to do and work with their contractors to come up with a plan where they don't have to shut down the whole beach. So they're going to go in, they'll start the dredging, and they're actually going to do it in phases across the beach. So they would start, we're going to call it the bridge side of the beach. If you're at the cove on the bridge side, they're going to shut down a section. The usable sand that they can pull out of St. George's Thoroughfare, which is basically our sand that is washed back in there, they're going to put back up in the beach. When that fills, they're going to move to the next stage and they're going to work their way across the beach. This will give our beachgoers access to the beach. And something that's really important to us is last time they did the beach replenishment, they took all the sand and just put it down on Pepper Cove and tried to create a feeder beach. What they're doing this time is they're going to start filling in, especially at first, some of the unusable areas and really try to give us a good, what they call beach renourishment down there. So we're going to get that information. We're going to share that out, but we wanted to let people know that that project is going to move forward. You'll start seeing information coming out about that project. The DOT now has been a really good partner with us. They've really looked into some of the concerns that we had and found ways to address those concerns. They said over the next couple of days, they're going to get us down an information package that we can start to share out. They're going to help us start to get stuff out through social media as well as some of the different media sources. So we'll keep posted on that as we're able to move through. Another big thing we had kind of talked about before was the NJ PAC. If people aren't sure what that is, that's Protection Against Climate Threat. The DEP is trying to change basically I'm going to give you the short version, the flood elevation. They're trying to prepare for what they're calling a 5-foot sea level rise over the next 80 years. That 5-foot sea level rise only really has about a 17% chance of happening. We had met with them about a year ago, explained our concerns, explained what the impact of that would be to our community as well as some of the other surrounding communities. They listened to us, but weren't real receptive. We got involved with Senator Palestina once he took office. We explained the issues that were going on. We partnered with a number of shore communities through Atlantic County and also with Cape May County. Senator Palestina set up a meeting last week in an in-person meeting. I know a lot of people are moving towards this virtual. I think you get so much more done in person, face to face, talking to people than you do with a computer screen, but that's just my opinion. He set up a meeting with a number of municipalities in Atlantic and Cape May County, and also with the decision makers in the DEP. We explained our concerns, we explained our issues with what they were trying to do and what kind of the impact would that be. They kind of explained why they were trying to get to where they're trying to get to. They've agreed to hold off until September about making any changes. So they were going to implement the changes. They decided to hold off till we had this meeting. They're now going to hold off till we meet again in September. They want to take what we shared with them and see if they can come up with something workable. And instead of preparing for the extreme case, maybe try to bring it down to something moderate. Some of the ideas that they kicked around, Brigantine is ahead of the game when it comes to flood remediation. We're almost there with a lot of that stuff, so it works a little bit more reasonably for us. So we're very, very curious to see what they come back with. And honestly, if there's a 5-foot sea level rise, the coastline is going to be in Absecon. Nobody's going to be living in Brigantine.
Be in
anyway.
gondolas.
So that was one of the things, and that's the good thing about having a senator who's an engineer. Like, they brought up some of the scenarios, and he's like, "Do you realize that like no one will live on the island at that point? So what does any of that matter? Let's do something reasonable. Let's do something that works now." I definitely want to thank Mike Reardon, who joined me at that meeting, and Jim Bennett, our city manager. I know we've been following this issue and trying to make sure that we get reasonable results on that. So I wanted to give people an update. Another big thing, I feel like we've had such a busy month here. Our windmill committee had a meeting. One of the things we discussed at that meeting was the major concern that we see coming out of Brigantine is the visual impact of the windmills. As it stands right now, the project is set up to be about 9.8 miles off of Brigantine. And the way that land lease goes across, they're going to be about 9 miles off of LBI. LBI's come out against it very heavily. We're trying to work with the company to kind of get some more information about what's going on. So I reached out to the representative from Atlantic Shores. I let them know like our concerns about the visual impact and to see if there's anything that can be done to reduce that visual impact. They said a lot of this depends on, one, getting federal approval. They're still in the process of getting their environmental impact study approved. They're probably about a year to a year and a half out before they do that. Once they get that done, they're going to start to look at the configurations of the windmills and where they go out there. And one of the things with the windmills, New Jersey has it set up that they have to meet a certain wattage. I believe Atlantic Shores off of Brigantine and up through LBI, I think they're just short of 1,600 kilowatt hours that they have to produce. So once they get their approvals, they can start to look at their arrangements. They said if there's anything they can do to lessen that impact, they're definitely going to consider that. I know, and I explained to them too, I said, one of the things people are concerned with in Ocean City really protests this, really came out against this, and Ørsted had moved their project out. One of the things that was explained to me by Ørsted and also by Atlantic Shores is one of the major difference between the project off of us and the project off of Ocean City is that they have to do landfall. So Ørsted's going to do landfall with their cables, their transmission lines, through Ocean City. So they were hoping if they could work with Ocean City and try to move a little further out, that they would get compliance from Ocean City to run those cables through. That has turned into a major legal battle right now. Ocean City is still fighting those cables coming through, even to the point where the state legislature through the BPU has taken away basically any local municipality's ability to have any jurisdiction or say over these projects. So it has turned into a major issue. One of the things we're researching through Senator Palestina's office is when the actual, enabling regulations were set up in the state of New Jersey, because really that would be the time to kind of set those distances. And the reason the question came from this is New York State set it up in such a way that these windmill projects can't be within, it's either 17 or 18 miles of shore. We wanted to know why New Jersey didn't take a similar path. What was explained to me is that when New Jersey adopted its enabling regulations, too many words, sorry. They just accepted what the federal government had put forward and made no changes or no consideration for what that impact would be to local communities. One of the other things we actually asked them to talk about too, because they gave us the visualization that Rutgers had put together. But I said, when people hear about 1,000-foot windmill, most people, when they hear about this windmill, you picture the 1,000-foot windmill standing in front of you and looking up. I said, what does that mean for normal people? Can you give us some type of visualization, some type of image that we can share that kind of puts in perspective what this is going to be for normal people? So they said they're going to reach out to Rutgers, who does their visual impact study, to see if they can kind of create that for us and help us to get that out. One of the approaches that we're trying to take is to try to work with Atlantic Shores to see what we can do to try to mediate the issues. They seem very, very receptive about being a good community partner. So that's where we're trying to work with them. And like I said, the major difference is legally, they have no obligation to make any changes. They're set up and protected by both the state and the federal government. And there's no leverage. There's nothing they need from us. So we're trying to see what we can kind of work together on and obviously share that information out. We're setting up a public meeting in September. We want them to come in. So if people have questions, they can ask those questions directly to them. They can hear from our community about our opinions, about our concerns, and they can kind of back that up with real information about why decisions were made. As soon as we have that date, we'll get that out. We're going back and forth on a couple of dates, but I'm hoping to hold that meeting at the community center, and we'll make sure that that's promoted out. Next big thing, I want to thank Public Works again for the outstanding job you guys did getting the beaches open on the north end. I know you did a lot of repairs and got things to get us through. We're working with Congressman Van Drew's office and the Army Corps of Engineers. We're up in the rotation for a full beach replenishment in 2023. We've started that process now. We've sent all the information that we need to the Army Corps. We've talked with Van Drew's staff. Van Drew's staff and the Army Corps said they would get back to us in October with a definite answer. We strongly believe it's going to happen next year, but until they give us that definite answer, we can't do anything. What they do is they look at all of the beach replenishments that happen in the state. They start to allocate their money and their resources, but the Army Corps and the New Jersey State DEP have come in. They looked at it. They see the significant erosion. You can see the erosion too. Stockton does our beach monitoring. So these are all the steps that we're taking. Usually when they do the beach replenishment, what they do is they do it in the spring and try to make sure that it doesn't impact the summer season, obviously provided if there's no delays or anything. So we'll get more information on that coming out forward. Last thing we have, Lighthouse Circle. We've been going back and forth with some of the ideas about what we can do about improving the Lighthouse Circle. For us, though, it is a county road. It is not a brigantine road, so we have to go through the county and go through the jurisdiction of the county. We have a meeting set up later this month with some of the county officials and the county engineers to see what their proposal is and how we can try to move this project forward. So we will keep everybody updated on that. I think that's it. Is everybody staring at me? I know it's funny. We have so much going on in Brigantine right now. All right, at this time, we'll open it up for public comments. So if anybody would like, just please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Ed Burke. I live at 929 North Shore Drive, which is right off the 17th hole of the golf course. And first of all, it's a great civics lesson. I probably didn't pick the best time to come to the meeting, but no meeting. And I learned a whole new definition for the word brief. But besides that, but it was great. But you guys do a great job, and I didn't appreciate how many issues you have to handle. And Brigantine's always been a quiet, peaceful place. It's our happy place when we come over the bridge and everything. Been there for a long time. The house has been there for a long time that I live in, the cottage house, and it was a cottage house prior to Sandy, and it's right next to where Councilman Kane grew up. So I know you're all familiar with it, and you have a lot of issues, but I wanted to lend support to, first of all, the proposal that Neil Kane put together, and I'm sure he had other help too, but it was a great job. We've talked many times. He walked me through some of the things, and I'm very well versed in it. I play in the men's league on Wednesdays, and most of the people there are pretty familiar with the course and how it's laid out. But people that don't play that course, they are not familiar with it at all. And they all try to avoid the water in front of it. So that's one of the many issues. But I think what Neil has proposed is really, I think will work. You're always going to have some hooks. You're always going to have some slices. And that was part of the course. But it's gotten progressively worse. And it's almost critical now. And we've had several opportunities where people could have gotten hurt. We presented a petition to the mayor's office, and I didn't rally the troops to come here for that, but I wanted to add momentum to what Neil put in front of you recently. I think it's really important. And it was kind enough, we have a couple of neighbors. It's not just the people that are on the golf course. We have people, half of those people live across the street. And they'll tell you about personal stories about damage, their kids, everything else. So somebody could really get hurt. I mean, I'd have a lot of damage to the house. I've had a new car, but I'm more worried about the kids. And Jen will talk a little bit about that. But I think it's really critical. And I think if we could move forward on this, and that's really why I'm here, I'd like to see some type of timetable. I know you have to put financial numbers to everything. And I look forward to doing that with you and working with you, and I'll do anything we can. We've even had people in the community that say, hey, can we help? What can we do? I know you worked on putting the trees up, and that worked for a little, but this trees really.
Right. It's wintertime, the trees don't help.
Yeah, and well, not only that, they're really not big trees.
Not yet. Wait a few years.
Well, anyway, and there's a lot of things, but I think what Neil had put forward will help quite a bit. And we like to work with you, and we'd like to have a timetable because, quite frankly, we've had some things in the past that were going to be done, and I've talked to a lot of people that are on the golf courses. You've made a lot of changes and things like that, which I appreciate. There's other people that say, well, they said we're going to do this last year or the fall. It just never materialized. I don't know if it was because of budget or whatever, but I'd really like to get a timetable established. We'd like to work with you before somebody gets hurt and we have a really, really serious problems, just besides broken windows or things like that. It could be really serious. So I'd like to support him. And if you need us to bring everybody out, I would, but I just wanted to jump on this opportunity because Neil, I know, just presented it to you, and I thought it was important that we nail it down right now. So, and Jen.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name and address.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry. Ed Burke,
Burke?
929 North Shore Drive.
929. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Yes, I'm Jennifer Sigmund, and I live at 927 North Shore Drive. I'm neighbors with Ed. And I wanted to just thank everybody. A few of you know me, Karen, and some of you for a few years. You have been responsive. We worked with the golf course committee and different things, and we've tried. And actually, Karen, your opening prayer that you read is actually, I jotted something down. But what you said is that it's gotten to the point where we really cannot enjoy our yards. And my son was here. We have had so many near hits, and I was hit with a golf ball within the last 2 years, and the frequency. And so I got rid of all the golf balls before COVID started. So this is 2 seasons in my shed. And, we've been working now with Neil, and he put together that really thoughtful, well-prepared presentation. And I just wanted to really impress this upon you, is that it's not about property damage whatsoever. This is about safety. And really what you summed up, Karen, in the beginning is that it's gotten to the point where, and they laugh at me, but we're screaming when we're in the yard because we're so fearful that we're going to be seriously injured. And that it is beyond, it was an education for me, by the way, when we did that petition, which I left at your office. We just did a week, who we could catch on the block, both sides of the street. I started at the 17th hole and I worked my way. And the stories from all of our neighbors on both sides of the street. And so, again, one of these little anecdotes is that we have people that have boat lifts on the bay, and they're finding golf balls in the boat that's on the lift across. So if you know where my house is, midway on the 17th hole, so Terry and Joe, they have their boat in the back. We have their next door neighbors. So their boats are on the bay, and they're finding golf balls over there. So again, we've had visitors, you have joggers. So it's not about our houses. It's not about our cars. I had so many people tell me all their windows and stories about property damage. That's not what we're about. And so the point that Ed asked is the schedule. So just, I think we've had all this fantastic conversation, and we're just looking for, maybe concrete, is it this year's budget, next year's budget, and then what is the schedule for the actual implementation of that? But again, you guys have been responsive, you've listened to us, and we're just really afraid that if we wait too long, we really are going to have a serious injury at some point, and it's going to be one of our kids. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you. And actually, I have Neil's presentation with me tonight.
I have it too.
Now, he did, Councilman Neil Kane did an outstanding job putting it together, presenting it to all of us and getting support. I know there's a lot of support in the city to move that forward. I know our superintendent of public works is working on that now. And I believe that Neil's going to follow up with everybody next week to try to get some more timelines, because I asked the same question you asked. We have a great proposal. We have a great idea. What's the next step? Yeah, so hopefully we'll have an answer in the next week. Go ahead, John.
We actually started some of the preliminary work today.
Oh, perfect.
We needed to, recitals on the other side. Cutting, we're gonna be cutting around the lake. I'm gonna try to do it when it rains, so we're not interfering with play. And how it deals, presentation showed you, we're gonna move the fairway over. There's some trees that shouldn't be going anyway. They will be coming out soon, and then I can measure, and we're gonna do where I'm starting. It's not gonna go by the wayside.
Okay. Yeah, because we do understand. So we're both golfers, by the way, and we understand like this is a prime golf season. That's also the prime season for us all to get injured. So that's why we really just wanted to come here.
Over by where you live, we're not cutting over there.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, that would be right lights. The only thing that, the bamboo comes back, I have to cut bamboo.
So we don't have bamboo by us, but up at the hole. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
the beginning of the hole is the bamboo.
Well, and because I talked to all these people, by the way, I could, now all these stories, but I talked to the guy with the bamboo and all of that. But the one place is on somebody's property. So that's where the bamboo shoots are coming from, on that one house.
Right.
So yeah, if you want to know anything about residents on North Shore Drive, I know all the stories. Honestly. Yeah, well, that's actually why we only got about 30 signatures, because every signature was about an hour and a half conversation between Ed and I. So I just gave you what I could when I knew you were going to have your meeting, but thank you so much.
Just, I don't want to push it, but just food for thought. If that pond back there, and you're well aware of it, it's very stagnant. And I think we used to have a sprinkler there. And the people along that line, they'd be willing to contribute to help out. I don't know what the cost of the solar sprinkler is now or anything, but I think it would really help with mosquitoes and everything else. So
The issue with that is the pond is not deep enough to draw water.
Oh, really?
If you, I mean, the stuff is still there, the electric is still there, but we can't find a pump that will agitate the water enough to keep it down. And we were working on trying to make that tidal.
Yeah, if it's tidal, then it'll be okay. Okay.
Last year, I actually got questions about the dredging and all that. Yeah.
We just had the meeting, yeah.
Yes, we have the permit again this week, so it is moving. It's very slow.
And I can tell you, Ed and Jen also, just, along with the excellent job that Neil did on the presentation, he was very conscious of costs to repair, to fix the issue. And we're fortunate we had our CFO there at the meeting also, and everybody was, let's fix the problem. It's time. So it's going to get done.
Neil knows the problem better than anybody.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved there with his dad and the station wagon, he used to put the pillows on the windshield every day. It was great.
Right.
My husband bought his parents' house.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
And I thank
thank
you for
you.
your patience. I know it's a very frustrating thing. I also am a golfer, and I know, it's, you say it's not the locals, but occasionally a local will pull a ball over that way. But we're trying to make it more visual so that golfers can see where they're going.
We did, and we even went up there one day and talked to the golfers, and they, like, again, you can't.
They don't know.
They can't see it.
Right. Right. The out-of-towners, the first-timers say, oh, I see water up there. I'm going to go over it. And, yeah, we're trying.
All right, thank you very much.
And it's always nice to see Captain Joe come back in the building. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I still fell asleep there.
Joe, is it your birthday today?
Yes.
Yes?
Happy birthday.
Wow.
Birthday, Joe.
I appreciate the. It's fine, but. That's 400 feet back from the house. Read my code.
Those are like softball.
All right, so if there's no other public comment, we'll close the public portion. Any final council comments?
Mayor, I know the meeting's been going kind of long. There is just a couple things I want to bring up. One is certainly upbeat, and the other is more solemn. But I'm not trying to, I want to keep, obviously, we all want to keep things upbeat, and we all think that way, but just something needs to be said. First, on the upbeat note, the skate park, great to get everybody out. I didn't mention that. The more, to get all these, our youth are inside playing games, different stuff, the more things we can do for our youth and those older, that's awesome. The other thing I wanted to say, Karen did her prayers.
And I'm very
Oh, is
sorry,
it-
I was.
That's fine,
Yes.
Karen, certainly understandable. She did her prayers, she so eloquently always does. And those moments of silence, I didn't know Mrs. Bray. I was familiar with the Brays, but didn't know her personally. Bill Jones played softball with him many years ago. I knew him on a work level, the SP detective in the casino units, great guy. I used to go in the surveillance office and then talk to him, bump into him, but to be doing a job at theft, whatever. And Dave DeFanction, we all know he's an excellent mechanic. And, with Mike, we all know him from hockey. Neil, I guess maybe you were coming in when he was maybe.
Grew up with
his-
Dave and
his son's
Jonesy. I've
time
known him
out.
my whole life. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention, if we could all remember keep them in our thoughts and prayers, the soul of Harrison Kleiss, son of Harry and Anna Marie Kleiss. We all just call her Ree. 21 years old, gone way too early. So many of our own children knew him. He was just such an upbeat kid, eager to learn. Knew him from Brigantine Baseball All Stars, and he was a good football player.
Great kicker.
He was a great kicker. He was a heck of in rec soccer, a heck of a goalie. Had a nice lively foot, like he just said. And he was out in Oregon. He was a junior in college, and just departed this good earth way too early. So if we all just keep him in our thoughts, our prayers, his family, keep them in our thoughts and prayers. He was a wonderful kid. God bless his soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for joining us for our July 13th meeting and watching your council team at work. Enjoy.